Yo! Video games.
Here's my quick and dirty thoughts on the Avatar Fire and Ash movie we all saw, which was we're all kind of scratching our heads a little like puzzled because so much of the movie is kind of a repeat of the second movie. And a day later, I have this sort of weird, kind of strange epiphany, and that is, in a vacuum, it's actually a pretty good movie. Like it's actually pretty decent in a vacuum. If maybe you only heard what happened in 2, like if you saw 1 and you read a little background info on, okay, here's the cliff notes of 2, and then you went into 3. You'd probably be like, hey, this is pretty cool. I'm seeing a lot of cool, crazy new stuff, right? But then the thing is if you watch 1 and then you watch 2 and then you go into 3 and you're kind of like, hey, I've seen this one before. You're like Marty McFly, at dinner in the 50s with his family. So you're like, this is kind of a rerun. Not to say it's not entirely a rerun, but it's there's a little bit of shocking, like, man, so much of this movie feels like we did this already. Didn't we do this? We did this. And this kind of goes into the knowledge from interviews and stuff of that. The second movie was split into 2 movies. There were scripts for 3 Avatar sequels, and it became 4 Avatar sequels because the script for 2 was getting too dense and too long. So they split part 2 into 2 parts. They kind of Netflix seasoned this, where, although they're still 3.5 hours each practically. So yeah, part 2 got put into 2 whole movies, and it feels like it. Like never, and you watch it on screen and you've never felt, wow, this movie got this is a single story split into 2. I haven't felt this so hard since watching Frozen for the first time and being like, oh my god, what's up, Napa? I could just visually see this movie going through, 4 different iterations before landing on the movie we got here. You could just see the splits, or like Brave, where like I remember watching Brave by Pixar, and like you can just, as a film goer, you can watch that movie and go, this is the moment the director switched, like right here. We literally switched directors right here, and you can just feel it really hard. So it's kind of like, okay, this was a movie where it's like, man, you could feel where they split this. This was one story split into 2. And the big thing is because the third act is basically the same as part 2's third act, only bigger and grander and epicer. So it's basically like that they split 2, and then they're like, okay, so what do we do for act 3 of part 2? We can't not have a big climactic, finish at the end of part 2 now that we split it. So they're like, what? So the solution seems to have been, we didn't know this when we saw part 2, which was take the plot, the climactic finish of Fire and Ash, part 3, and just make a smaller version of that for part 2. Bada bing, bada boom. there you go. So it's kind of like, oh, like, I guess to maybe put it in sort of like context for people who haven't quite seen it yet, imagine if Return of the King ended at Helm's Deep. Like, again, like the humans just all reconvened in Gondor, met up with Rohan, and instead of, the riders of Rohan, going to Pelennor Fields and defending the city of Gondor fled to Rohan, and then they all said, okay, let's all go back to Helm's Deep, and, we'll rebuild the wall and put it back up, and then there's an even bigger, more massive battle with Oliphants at Helm's Deep at the end of Return of the King. That's basically what happened here with Fire and Ash. We got this weird sort of like, we're doing this again. Like, this is cool, but we're doing it again. So the good, you ain't seen anything like this. Like, in 2 seconds of starting this movie, you look at the CG and you go, man, every other movie CG looks like poop compared to this. Like, it feels like it's like 2 or 3 console generations ahead. Like, I'm not even joking here, where like you watch this movie, just the opening minutes of it, and it feels like you went back in time to 1995 and showed people who were just getting their first PlayStation 1, like, hey, here's what games are going to look like on PS4. And you're like, oh. like it's got this insane visual, like it's just so far beyond. Now, then again, we were watching it on like, you know, the most pristine screen we could find, which was like a Dolby Atmos, you know, laser projector, you know, yada yada, and like that's recommended specifically by Hollywood directors. So we got the most pristine looking screen we could get, and that thing looked amazing as far as like visual fidelity. It was just like, you know, like, what's up, Zangetsu? You know, like a lot of times you get movies and 3D movies are a little dim or a little fuzzy or a little like, nah, dude, this thing was looking like looking through like a cleanly polished window into another world. So yeah, you got like this, okay, visually amazing. Fight scenes, choreography, amazing. And you got moments in this movie of acting that are pretty amazing. Like, you know, like I really got to give it up to both the actors and the animators for acting their hearts out, and then the animators making sure that like followed through with completely into their CG character models. So, I mean, I was just kind of like, man, like everything looks like poop compared to like this film's CG, like everything. So it's almost a disservice where it's like, man, because the thing is, we're gonna keep getting these like really rush jobs and the you know, big Marvel movies that are rushed out to meet deadlines, and other studios are gonna rush their superhero films to meet their deadlines and get their tentpoles. And these movies all take a ton of time. Like, you know, Big Jim gets to like sit on his laurels, and Weta basically gets to like sit there and spend years, multiple years plural, like just, you know, CGing this movie or recreating this world digitally, and it shows. So something to really be said for like having the most talented artists, and having the time, and having the budget, because as the triangle of film, as you all know, you can get two of the three things. You can either get, you know, which is time, budget, or speed, right? You can't get all three. You can't get all three. You can have a movie that, you know, time, budget, and speed. You can do it fast, and you can do it on a budget, but it's not going to look great. And you can do budget, but take forever, which is kind of this movie, which is like, okay, the triangle is like, this one is like, we took our time, we spent a lot of money. This is the result, but we ain't getting it fast. That's Avatar. You know, you spend a lot of money, you take a lot of talent, you know, you spend a lot of time, and then you get a really good product, but it takes forever. So you can't have it all ways. You can't have a movie that looks like this, and comes out quickly and costs nothing. You can't get a cheap movie quickly, you know, and looking like this. This is something that, so when, as far as visual effects go, this is like, okay, this is on another level. We watched it in 3D with a HFR, high frame rate, which is the one thing that is a little weird, because there's moments where when the movie, if it's going from a high frame rate scene, if you're watching it in HFR, which I don't know how many people are going to have that ability, when it goes from HFR back to 24, if there's too much motion going around, you really, like, you'll notice it if you're good at frame rates, and as gamers, we're all probably pretty good at frame rates. But like, you'll notice when it drops back down to 24, because you're like, ugh. But it's only at its worst when, say, there's a high action scene, and then it cuts or drops back down to 24, but there's just a bunch of leaves falling, and all of a sudden the leaves falling look really bad, like from a frame rate perspective. Like, oh my god, we're back to 24, and it's like, what is going on? And yeah, there's still a little bit of like in that initial, like, because the film opens in a high frame rate scene, and there's that little bit of like almost soap opera feel to it with how smooth everything is. But yeah, it kind of like bounces back and forth between high frame rate and regular frame rate. But like, it looks, but when the high frame rate's going and it's going for a good steady clip, it looks so smooth. You get this movie, you get why they did it. Like, I saw Hobbit, all of it in high frame rate, and it was just kind of like, after about 10 minutes you adjusted to it, and then it was just kind of like, why did we even bother paying for the high frame rate when it's like, okay, well, whatever. This is, at first it looks like a soap opera, and then it smooths out, and then like your brain gets used to it, and you just don't even notice anymore. So yeah, like, but like when they have longer high frame rate, you can kind of see, because it does make the action, it's basically like turning off motion blur, like in a video game. You can do things smoother and things don't look smudgier, and your brain's not trying to catch up as much, especially with 3D. So it's actually done almost in a way to help alleviate 3D fatigue, because with smoother, higher frame rate, smoother motion, your brain doesn't have to fill in so many gaps. So yeah, like on that visual front, it's like, so again, we're watching it with like the best, Dolby Atmos sound on a laser projector with a high frame rate, projector going, so saw the best possible quality. But so yeah, visually, this movie's still on another level. It's like 11 out of 10 or whatever. But as far as the rest of the movie goes, yeah, this is kind of getting into that sort of repeat territory. Now, the thing is, I feel like, and I hate to put anyone on blast, but if you're gonna say, Dances with Wolves in Space, Pocahontas, Smurfs, it's kind of like, okay, you're kind of not worth having a conversation with, because that's the most tired, boring, stupid argument ever. Whatever. Oh, movies like another movie. News at 11. I think, I think Shakespeare's Ghost probably is owed trillions of dollars of royalty at this point if we want to bitch about movies being similar to other movies. There's like 7 basic stories. So for me, it's kind of like, okay, we can get past this boring, stupid argument about, oh, it's like this, it's like that. It's like Pocahontas, like Denzel Wolves, like whatever. As far as like the actual story and plot and characters go, like, okay, well, I want to give this sort of like a fair shake. I'm always like, hey, I appreciate the fact that someone's trying to make a new universe. They're not just digging through decades of comic books and just cherry picking what they like, and dropping and changing what they don't, and or just pillaging a book series, or like giving Stephen King more money, like, can I pull this out, can I pull that out, can I do this? It's like, okay, someone's actually trying to do something on their own, and we don't know where the story is going to go. And that was actually the exciting part of like Avatar 1, especially Avatar 2, where it was like, we don't know where the story's going. Like, I mean, pretty good idea. They're probably not going to kill a bunch of characters off, like, or anything. And we're not watching Game of Thrones here, but like, that's the fun part. It's like, we don't know where things are going. So it's kind of like, okay, cool. We got a new universe. We don't know where things are going. So that was kind of the fun. Unfortunately, with 3 is like, it feels like there's like 4 plot lines. Like, there's like A plot and B plot. This movie has like 4 plot lines going on at once, and they're all happening. They're cutting back and forth between them, but the actual progression of the overall narrative feels like it's going nowhere. Like, time passes in the movie, but also it feels like nothing's actually changed. That's kind of like this film's greatest sin, is that like, we pretty much end at the same point that we did in 2, save for one character gets its acceptance. This one character who was kind of, on shaky ground with some of the other characters gets accepted, the end, kind of thing. Like, that's really, but otherwise, we kind of went through the exact same things. All, like, we still hinted at things that were hinted in 2, and they're hinted at again, but we don't have any conclusion. We have no definitive answers for any like weird big mysteries. They're still sort of like out there, like maybe they'll get explained down the road. So it's kind of like, wow, there's like 4 plot lines going on in this movie, but like the actual progression of the main narration, like where there's like this sort of like, okay, where are we going? Like, everyone's got their hang-ups. They got to get over their hang-ups. They get over their hang-ups. Cool, but it's like, at the end of the day, we're not really anywhere different than where we were at the end of 2, and even realistically at the end of 2, just spoiler alert a little bit at the end of 2, where it's like, all right, you blew up a whaling vessel, but guess what? There's still a whole lot of people on this planet, and are probably going to be more, they're probably going to more coming in by the day, kind of thing. And that's still kind of where we are at the end of 3, where it's like the narrative of like what's going to happen to Pandora, how do the humans figure into this, all of that stuff is not really that is like not progressed in this movie at all. Like, it's just kind of like, nah. Let's spend 3.5 hours going through the trials and tribulations of each of like the main characters, like, and even Jake and Natiri have like separate storyline pathway, separate like character arcs they're going through, and then his son has got one, and his adoptive daughter's got one, and his adoptive son's got one, and the villain's got one. So it's like there's like 5 plot, almost plot lines going on. So it's kind of like, okay, that's great. I'm glad everyone figured out whatever they're gonna do, but like we didn't really move the plot forward, and that's kind of like the disappointing part of it, where it's like, okay, well, it's still very pretty, but we go to very few new places. We see a little bit more. We see a little bit more of places from the last movie, but like going somewhere brand new in this movie, not really. And that's actually probably one of the weirdest things, because Avatar 1 and Avatar 2 are basically like make-believe National Geographic films in a way, the visit the wonderful world of Pandora, and or I should say, Richard Attenborough, or like David Attenborough, like, oh, here on the planet of Pandora, we see the extraordinary, Viper Wolf in his den. That's what you're basically getting. You're getting these National Geographic make-believe movies of Pandora in 1 and 2. And 3 is just like, no, it's all remixing. It's all remixing places we've been. We get like one scene in the Ash Tribe area, and it's one scene, and it's kind of come and goes pretty quick. They don't spend a lot of time there, like, at all. So, like, and the other thing too is like, okay, so should you just watch 2 and 3 back to back? Well, 1, that's 7 hours, and 2, the movies kind of in a weird sort of way hurt each other, because 3 is so much of a remix of 2, and even a little bit of remix of 1 in certain aspects. Because 3 is so much of a remix of 2, it kind of makes 2, in retrospect, not really as great, but 2 is chronologically first. So there's a weirdness here. Like, honestly, I feel like 2 and 3 should not have been split, and they probably should have just figured out a way to condense and get the points of both movies across in 3.5 hours. Because 3 ends up being repetitive of 2, but then it also has its own unique things as well that you don't want to miss out on. You wouldn't want to miss out on. And there's so much in 2 that's like unique and introduced to you. So it's like this. Unfortunately, it's just kind of like it's a movie that's really weird. Like, it's spinning its wheels a lot, and it's like for all that's new in here, very little is progressing forward. At the end of the day, which is unfortunate, because I went back and I looked at John Landau, R.A.P. Some of his comments he was making were Avatar 4 and 5 are supposed to be more Earth-focused films, and there's things that they introduce at the start, at the beginning of 2, that are like, okay, this could lead to some really cool things, like some really, really good, deep, philosophical, cyberpunk-ish, kind of ideas that kind of really don't really resurface much in here in 3, but are still kind of there. And I feel like, man, the idea of like shifting gears a little bit to 4 and 5, I wish, again, I actually just look at this and I wish this was condensed into 3. Or I'm sorry, I wish part 3 was condensed into part 2, and that we never split it, and that we were gonna have Avatar 2, Way of Water would have combined all this, and we could have been watching the theoretical part 4, which has more Earth focus, or what's happening there. I think that would have been more interesting to me, because I actually am interested in this universe. I'm kind of interested to see where it goes. It's very beautiful. I do love the fact that James Cameron loves. There's a lot of similar shit I love. I love, like, I love environment. Like, I'm an environment whore, like a good environment, and I'm suckered in real easily with video games, and it's true here too. Like, okay, so we're gonna have like the most tropical rainforest we've ever conceived, and the most coral reef we've ever seen. And it's like, are you on board? Yes, of course I'm on board. But But yeah, I actually kind of wish I wish we had just sort of condensed this into the last movie so we could be on to the greater overall narrative of the, because like right now it's still like humans, and that's the other thing is like humans are bad and they're all mostly bad except a few good ones. And I'm okay with this, but I almost wish it was like, okay, cool. So why aren't we killing more of them? Like, get to the part where we're having like a good, honest to God, like, nature versus machine murder, kill. Like, because there's even a line in the movie where she's just like, the sky people is what they call humans, kill them all, and I'm like. Like the Kermit looking at himself as Constantine meme, kill them all. Kill them all. Like, and I'm like, that's cool, but we're kind of just okay. Like, we're talking about a couple boats here. I'm like, I want to see like like it really get to that weird escalation point there. But, but yeah, like I kind of just feel like plot needed to move a little more forward, and I do think that there's actually something interesting there, because again, I don't think it's just going to be ultimately lead to, it's not just going to be about, okay, all the Pandora creatures and peoples, they have to just kill all the humans. I don't think it's going to end that way. I don't think that's where it's going, but I do think there's potential. I see the potential there for something interesting and something a little weird and something a little out there. I have my own headcanon theory of where they've been going with this, almost really since part 2, but even a little bit since part 1. I've had this theory even from part 1 that I feel 2 was hinting at more, and there's a hint in this movie where I feel like I'm just being vindicated more, a little more, just tiny little bit of being vindicated more and more in my headcanon theory of what's going on with the Avatar movies, like overall, like where we're going to end up in 5. But I'm sick of being teased. Like, let's get to the meat and potatoes and the answers. And I think spending 7 hours of film and two whole films, a total of 7 hours spread across 2 long movies of here's my family drama. Here's how my family drama sort of relates a little bit to the villain and how we get over that family drama. I'm like, we did not need to spend 7 hours doing that. And despite how effing beautiful the movie is. So we did not need to spend this much time doing it. It's kind of like I get it. Like, there's things that happen, and yeah, like, okay, like part of the family drama in part 2 was losing the eldest son, and then the youngest son, has to deal with the fallout of that and blaming himself for it and yada yada, and that's good stuff. It is good stuff. I'm not saying don't cut it out. I'm just saying, like, this feels like it could have been scrunched a little bit. Like, I don't know, which is weird to say because I'm usually a fan of long movies. But again, when we're repeating whole ass scenarios, like bit for bit, movie to movie, that's where I'm starting to draw the line here a little bit. Like, okay, time out. You're doing the exact same third act in the almost the exact same place with the exact same kind of setup. Like, time out now. We've been here. Like, I know you don't want to just like forget about things wholesale, but it's like before this movie we got a Mandalorian and Grogu trailer, and it was just kind of reminding me of like how boring post-trilogy Star Wars became, because everyone just wanted to fester in the world of OG trilogy Star Wars so hard. We want to have TIE fighters and stormtroopers and scary Force users in black robes and ATs, and I'm just like, I can't unsee that. I'm just like, but God, we're gonna have let's have a hut, but have them roided out, and I'm like, okay. Part of me is like, okay, I'm starting to get this. Maybe we stayed here a little too long. Like, maybe we spent a little too much time kind of redoing the same things over and over, because it's fine if you want to. I'm not opposed to a movie staying in an area for a long amount of time. I mean, again, there's great movies that take place in a room, like 12 Angry Men and The Magnificent, the Hateful Eight, stuff like that. Like, there are movies that take place in whole rooms and you can make the drama work. That's not even the problem. The problem is that we're kind of like beat for beat repeating things, and repeating story beats in the same places twice, back to back. So, I don't know. If you want to see a really beautiful movie, if you want to see really good action, well-directed action, it's a good time. These movies are rides. And the funny thing is, if you saw Avatar 2, go see this in 4DX. And the reason I say go see this in 4DX is you don't need to. The story beats. Like you're gonna see them presented at the beginning of the movie and just be like, I get it, I know where you know where this is going. You don't have to pay attention that much. Go see this in 4DX because you already have seen the plot for this movie for the most part. So because this movie is basically a ride, make it a ride. Go see this in 4DX. This is a movie. Like when I was driving home, I was like, we kept saying we'll never see a movie for the first time in 4DX because of how obnoxious it is. And I'm like, but the plot of this movie was so much of a 2.5. I'm like, we should have just watched this in 4DX. We should have just done the ride. That's my official review. Like bump up your score a whole solid point, by watching this in 4DX. It's probably the best way to see this movie if you can find a 4DX theater. Otherwise it's kind of like it's a beautiful retread. So good, but good time. I mean, is it say on like a sort of comparison scale? Is it better than Marvel movies? Better than most Marvel movies. It's certainly better than anything Marvel. Endgame, probably better than Endgame. It's certainly better shot than Endgame. So if you can get a 4DX with a laser, go for it. But yeah, my opinion is just like, well, you'll still have a decent time, assuming you can get over it's Pocahontas in space. I'm like, it's like, it's Ferngully with blue people. If you can get past that tired argument now, yeah, go see it in 4DX. It's a ride. Does it, again, the question that I get asked is does this make it a good movie if you have to watch it in a movie theater in a ride format? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't make it I guess not. I guess not really good. It's not a movie. It's an experience. It's an experience, and if you're going to see this movie because of the experience, go see it in 4DX if you have the ability to do so. That's my ultimate take on it. I don't regret seeing it, but I'm a little whelmed. I'm a little whelmed by this movie. Maybe even a little bit underwhelmed, but definitely whelmed. Not visually. Oh no. This is the best looking thing you'll see at the movies probably till the next Avatar comes out. This movie's a great experience. It's an all right movie. So yeah, that is my official review for Avatar: Fire and Ash. If I were to grade it, I don't know. This is really hard, man, because like grading this is hard, man. And part of me is like, I don't know, conflicted. I'm very conflicted, and I'm really hovering around like the 7 mark on this one. Like, it's so good and so well produced, but like from the script dialogue, not even the dialogue, but mostly just like from the storyboard aspect, it's like, oh, you're doing the same thing over and over and over, and like there's so many scenes that are and I'm not even talking about the climax, like not even the finale, just like this scene, we had this scene in this place with these characters, we had this scene in this place with these characters, we had this scene in this place with these characters. It's like that's kind of like the sort of like that's kind of like the frustrating part of it. I wasn't bored. I was never bored with the movie. I never checked my watch. But I was like, fuck, I've seen this before. And Man, that's kind of, again, the thing I liked about Avatar was that I've never seen anything like this, and I don't really know where it's going. I have a pretty good idea where it's going because, again, you know, if you really sit down and boil down a movie, like, did anyone sit down to Avengers Infinity War? I'm sorry, Endgame. Did anyone go into Endgame thinking Thanos might win? Like, please. Like, fucking please. Did you go into Iron Man 1 thinking Iron Man was going to die? Did you go into Iron Man 2 thinking Iron Man 2 was going to die? Or 3? No. Like, but, like, yeah, I wasn't bored, but I was definitely, like, I don't know what the opposite of bored is. It's not the opposite, but I was very much, like, consciously aware I've seen this before. Like, really, we're doing this again. This is happening again. So, they're pretty, I mean, I don't know what a 4DX ticket costs, but I mean, like, it's 3.5 hours. At least you're not getting, you know, no short movie there. So, yeah, not every movie has to be a home run. And I think that's the most important one. So, yeah. If you like if you like having a theater going experience, if you enjoy going out to the movies, this is a good movie to go out and see on a big screen, preferably on a 4DX ride. That is what this movie is made for. If you're sitting there, like, if you expect your film to be good at home as it is in the theater, this ain't that movie. This ain't that franchise. Here's the funny thing. I've never watched any Avatar movie at home. I've never watched Avatar on a TV or monitor. I've only ever seen it in the theater. That goes for part 1 and part 2 and part 3, I guess now. I have never watched Avatar at home. I've never seen it on a monitor. And I think that's probably a good thing, because I don't know how well these movies would hold up if I was on a couch and had the ability to pause or do whatever, you know. So so yeah. Otherwise, go see it.